so long is like alchemy.
Due to this being a long-fought game, I jump right into the action. De'Aaron Fox, you see Quinn Cook affect his shot, and I really circled that as the matchup problem going into this. How could Quinn Cook deal with De'Aaron Fox, but it ended up not being the issue. It was Buddy Hield who got busy on the switches as they attacked Quinn Cook. Now, Klay is really mastering that little look hezzy, and then he finishes with the left hand over the 7-footer. Y'all know we spoke this into existence. Damian Jones, aggressive running finishing hook shot. Now watch Bjelica challenge Quinn Cook off the screen. They scouted Quinn Cook well, and Dave Yeager is a real coach's coach, right? He's a pro. He's worked his way up through the ranks, and I heard Bob say something. I thought the exact same thing. He's like the 6th defender out there because he's out there communicating for the young Kings on every set. And I'm surprised that more coaches at the NBA level don't do this. Luke Walton and some of these coaches that have a lot of young players on the floor, I think you could be the communicator if you're willing to expend that energy. Here's more Buddy Hield taking advantage of Quinn Cook. And then the next play down, this happens. Pick and roll, Damian center of the floor. What you gonna do? He goes up and spikes it with the right hand. And it's just, I don't know if a switch has been flipped or what has happened, if he's been threatened to lose the starting spot. DeMarcus coming back, I don't know what it is, but I will take it. Just when we were all ready to write him off, KD, that's a nasty chase down block. Durant, he owes us 2 blocks a game. Let's be real here. If Durant's dialed in, he could wake up and get 2 blocks a game. Another finish. Damian Jones, 9 points in the first 5 minutes of this game. I like the overload there. You see how everybody was overloaded to the weak side? So it allows Durant to make easier reads. Klay just didn't knock it down. Here he goes on the 7-footer, and KD had rhythm. He picked up where he left off. He was getting buckets. And once again, kind of attacking that little fadeaway from deeper in the paint. More Damian. Look where he's catching the ball. This will be there all season long. And he gets himself to the line. I just hope that this is something that sticks with him and he realizes that he's capable of doing this. Klay, nice little inside-out 3-ball. We talked about working it inside out, and it continued to work. Take a look at Marvin Bagley, the 2nd pick in the draft. This is off a rebound. His aggression, his mentality is what sets him apart and why he went number 2. We'll talk more about him as the game goes on, but it's rare you see this type of mentality in a near 7-footer, right? You take a look at Damian Jones. If Damian Jones had an ounce of what Bagley had in him, look out. The one area KD continues to struggle is turnovers and still learning to create pass accuracy. And usually, you know what, it results in him taking 1 extra dribble. There was 3 turnovers in a row here. He had 5 in the first quarter. He holds the ball a little long, and then he's not accurate with the passes. There's the lefty face-up jumper in Looney's face. And the Kings have shooters, and look at the pressure they put on you. They want to get out and run, miscommunication, wide open look for Hield, who was their best player on the night, but they attack so fast, and they have shooters. Look at Bagley here, kind of like a puppy piss in the yard, right? Misses the dunk, throws up a terrible, but I want you to look at his face after. It doesn't bother him a bit. He just keeps playing. I joked about Damian and being threatened, but the reality of it is it was most likely the play of Jordan Bell that inspired Damian Jones. Jordan only 13 minutes on the night, mostly because of how well Damian played, right? But maybe he feels like Bell is pressing up on him for minutes. Jerebko, foot on the line, knocks that down. You know, the adjustments with Steph out, it kind of took a little too long for them to adjust, right? Obviously a 4-game losing streak, but the positive is they need to keep some of these things for when Steph is on the bench and he's healthy, right? So they can continue to integrate and figure out how to play without the chef on the floor. Shump hits the 3, another tough shot maker that this Sacramento team has. Livingston continued to remain aggressive. That was a positive. Iguodala nowhere to be found, but Sean looked bouncy and looked healthy, and here's Harry Giles. And I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but this kid reminds me of Kevin Garnett. Obviously, he's not as talented, but just in mentality, you see Damian Lee mistiming the lob with Iguodala, and Sacramento makes you pay for turnovers more than anybody in the league. And I talked about Shumpert being a heat check artist in my last NBA Alchemy and how well he's been playing for them. And he's a guy that if he has a hot hand, right, it doesn't really matter hand in the face or where he's at on the floor. I thought Sacramento kind of went away from him when they shouldn't have. Gauging a player's effort level, the more skilled and talented they are, the harder it is to gauge, right? Because they don't have to try as hard. But with KD, 17 free throws attempted, 13 rebounds is a good indication. Hield was just absolutely wet. And we talk about putting the pressure on the defense with Bogdanovic, Bjelica. They can spread the floor. There's Damian Lee proving It'll be interesting to see once McKinney's back if Lee cuts into McKinney's minutes depending on the matchup. Another turnover, you run for Fox, and Bagley gets rewarded. I think the major concern going into this was 3 games in 4 nights against one of the fastest younger teams in the league. You see Klay just didn't have his legs on that one, but you wondered with the pace and their speed how the Warriors' legs would hold up. KD coast to coast probably should have been an and one. And then what's Klay's dunk count, right? Remember him and Zaza had the bet? I hope they still have the bet. I don't know how many Zaza has out in Detroit, right? But Klay's got like 5 or 6 dunks in the first 20 games of the season. I see you. I think the real bullet dodged in this game, you see De'Aaron Fox change of pace and speed, was he just had an awful night. And I don't necessarily want to credit our defense. I just think he did it to himself. He just didn't really play well. Shumps 4-3, but most of his damage was done in that first half. He kind of was the forgotten guy. KD has kind of refound his Dirk fadeaway in this last 2 or 3 games. I want him to keep that in the holster. And then there's Damian making the nice bounce pass, Klay with the finish. Quinn, 6 points in 29 minutes. And this is what happens. You stay in the starting lineup for a week, and all of a sudden you move up teams' board as far as scouting goes. And they're aware of what you like to do. Now watch how accurate this pass is. Rips it to Klay, perfect pocket pass, knocks down the 3. This is where LeBron is so elite. Watch this pass to Quinn in the corner. Because it's not accurate, it's not on a rope, the shot is challenged and it's much more difficult. Here's another inaccurate pass from Durant, too soft, too low, but Klay bails him out with the ridiculous 3-ball. But I always tell young players like, yo, have pride in your passes. You can be selfish when you're passing the ball, and inaccuracy is one sign of that. Another one from Mr. Thompson, absolutely dominating the third. So out of a timeout, who do they go to? Warriors on a rally, they go to the rookie, and if you're a Kings fan, you gotta like how Jaeger's bringing along the youngsters, because not only are they winning and competitive, but he's developing and letting Bagley get his touches. Here's my I told you so moment of the night, but remember when I had pointed out how Damian maybe needs to be slapped around and a little bit more feisty, and I just thought it was interesting that Kerr said Damian played angry tonight. You see the putback slam, right? And I had noticed that maybe if you could fire him up, if somehow can fabricate a chip on his shoulder, it could keep this energy and activity up. Bogdanovic is just a killer. Timely shots, and you can tell everything he puts up, he thinks is going in. I feel like we haven't seen KD hit an answer 3-ball all season long. That was his signature almost. Someone would hit a 3, he'd come down and knock one right back, and then here's more Damian being aggressive. I think Steve Kerr needs to play on the competitiveness of Damian, challenge him more. He's such a nice kid, it may not be easy to do, but try to get him a little aggravated, and I think it'll work out. That's just a ridiculous reload 3 here. 15-point third quarter, and then S. off the cut. Oh, jam. Left hand on the lefty. I've talked over and over again about the 2 vets and what they haven't given us, and I think with Sean, it's much more mental. We know Iguodala struggles with the knees, the lower back, right? With Sean, it's how much does he want to play? I don't think physically he has anything. He hasn't really shown signs of slowing down. It's just engagement. Again, Bogdanovic, clutch shooter, answers with the 3-ball. The kick out, heeled, step back, 4 of 6 from downtown, 28 points. The Sacramento was very game. It was back and forth, blow for blow, headed into the 4th quarter. Again, we see the Dirk Diggler. And it was Justin Jackson rather than Shump guarding KD down the stretch. So after Klay's dominant third, it was KD time to start the 4th, and he was in rhythm. Here's an example of he doesn't want to pass it out of the left hand. You see how he switches it to the right? And that timing messes up the roll. Something Steph we take for granted is his ability to pinpoint pass with the left hand. Kerr, timeout, as SAC has regained the lead. Jaeger goes to the 2 young bigs, and look at them work together here. The future is bright. Harry Giles, just the fact that he's in the league after those 2 devastating knee injuries speaks volumes about his character. But what I like is the little bit of nastiness. That's where he's ultra competitive and chippy like KG. And the versatility of these 2, they can both play at the same time moving forward. So, you know, I got to complain about somebody, and it's going to be Iguodala tonight, because you watch this shot clock. Take a look at where it's at, right? Iguodala, 31 minutes, and he took 2 shots. I'll give him a pass driving to the basket at this time of the year, but you got to take the open 3, Iguodala. You got to, man. It's ridiculous. But how about this? How about Kerr showing the vote of confidence, Damian entering midway through the 4th? Quinn Cook, this is tough because the way Bogdanovic shoots, you have to play him tight on the perimeter. You're going to be left open for the back door, but this was the biggest shot of the night. Down 6 minutes to go. KD, an answer 3-ball. when you felt like the lead SAC had was ready to balloon to double digits, and then more Durant protecting the rim and just showing more effort on that side of the ball than, we had seen in the 4-game losing streak. And this is where KD's at his best. Dribbling downhill, pull up, there's nothing you can do. None of that post stuff. He gets the huge and one for his 40th point of the night. Here we go, tie game, 5 minutes remaining. And I know, I'm moaning about Iguodala. Here's the right basketball play. Okay, the extra pass, and Quinn rewards him for it. But I will point out here a few possessions later where Iguodala hasn't taken a shot, and so he's probably not going to make the open one that he takes, right? Healed, Damian Jones, nice job not fouling. They rode Durant home offensively, but it felt different, right? It wasn't so stagnant. It wasn't so ISO. There was more spacing, and he was attacking quicker. He wasn't waiting. So out of a timeout, Jaeger uses Willie Cauley-Stein's gravity. And when you think about it, it's like, how do you leave Hield, who's been their hottest shooter? But it's easier said than done in the moment when you see the big rolling, and they answer with a huge 3-ball. And then Klay, I thought Klay was kind of guilty of hunting for the dagger. Like, that's an off-balance, terrible chuck, especially the way Durant's been going. And then here's what I was talking about. Iguodala finally decides to shoot, but he has no rhythm because he hasn't shot all game long. Hield has really become a complete scorer. He has the 3-ball, the mid-range, and he can get to the basket and finish with the left hand as he ties the game under 3 minutes to go. Quinn, it's going to be interesting to see moving forward because that's the blueprint, right? That's his strength coming off the screen. How will he adapt? Will he make quicker passes or will he try to penetrate? Hield tries a dagger of his own to no avail. SAC down 2, under 2 minutes, and they go to the rookie once again. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be better. He's not going to have the higher ceiling of Doncic and Ayton, but I think he's going to have a 10-year career where he's going to give you 18 and 10. It's just a mentality, a motor, and a confidence that's just there. It's an absolute, and I think that's why SAC took him as the safe pick at number 2. Here we go, under a minute to go. Where do we go? We're thinking KD, right? Absolutely. Shumpert back in on him. Does the double come? Not exactly, but you see how he got knocked off balance there? That's what threw off the shot. When he pivoted, he was off balance. Offensive rebound. Remember, the shot clock, new rule, resets to 14. Are they aware of it? And Klay, I talked about him being guilty of this, right? You live with it, but it was an absolute terrible shot. And you're watching Durant, you're thinking, yo, he wants that back in the post. But hey, it is what it is. Fox pushes and gets to the line. He sold it. But Quinn knows you got to let him shoot it. He hadn't made a shot all night, and De'Aaron Fox goes to the line and knocks both of them down to give Sacramento a 1-point lead. Do we push the ball? No, Kerr calls the timeout. And I really like the schematics of this play because you take your 2 best threats and you pull them apart. You give them space apart so you're guaranteed spacing on the floor. Klay's going to come to the top. KD to the bottom, both off screens. Now watch KD here, though. Klay doesn't want the ball here. KD's waiting. Look at Klay go through the screen. He's like, nah, I'm not really tripping. So then KD goes, right? So it wasn't exactly a predetermined decision from Durant to take that shot. Iguodala, offensive rebound. KD cuts, but then moves out.
So 7 to shoot. Klay Thompson in on Cauley-Stein. Klay Thompson. What a play.
Redemption. And it's funny because we all joke about how Klay is kind of invincible to criticism. If he doesn't make that play, I think he was going to get some criticism for that 40-foot chuck, or at least asked about it. Here we go, Sacramento. They're going to go to Hield, the hot hand, and he looks like he's comfortable going left. Bagley the tip, and no, it's a wedgie. So what does that mean? It means a jump ball at midcourt, tipped away, and game over. Wrong. Jaeger calls a timeout. Now, there is a discussion that does the clock start on the tip or possession of the ball? I thought it was the tip because once a hand touches the ball, the clock runs, whether there's possession or not. So they have to go back and see when the Kings get time, and they agree with me. So the Kings only get like 0.5 seconds, 0.3 seconds, and Damian Jones gets a fingertip on the ball, and Golden State escapes this young Kings team at home on the back end of a back-to-back. I'm out, y'all.
I've been winning so long.